end of this learning chunk, you are expected to recognize the various forms of flexible learning modalities, view how the flexible learning modalities are done and exemplified, and adapt to the flexible learning modality of the University of Eastern Philippines. Welcome to TS1, and this is Flexible Learning Environment in the New Normal. Well, a flexible learning environment actually addresses other elements of the learning environment, such as how students are grouped during learning and how time might be used more flexibly during the day. And it basically means offering students a choice in when, how, and where they study, just to fit learning around other commitments. And this would basically include allowing people to study at a slower or faster pace, providing options for where learning takes place, as well as how to access course information and assessments. It can also mean more choice in how to enter and leave study, take breaks, and or to rejoin later. There are types of flexible learning environment, and I can give you 5. First is open and distance learning. Well, second is e-learning. Third is online learning. Fourth is blended learning. And fifth, the Moodle and Module. First is open and distance learning. Well, open learning and distance education represents approaches that focus on opening access to education and training provision, freeing learners from the constraints of time and place, and offering flexible learning opportunities to individuals and groups of learners. Distance education or distance learning can actually be defined as any form of education in which the teacher and the learner are separated in either time or space. While formerly called home study and then correspondence education, distance education was then delivered via radio and TV broadcast in different countries. And currently, more distance education is delivered via internet and computer communications technologies. And talking about distance learning, it can be virtual classes, synchronous, asynchronous, hybrid, or electronic learning, fixed time online courses, and correspondence learning. Next up is e-learning. Well, e-learning or electronic learning refers to anything that is offered, enabled, or mediated by electronic technology for the purpose of learning. And this term includes standalone computer-based training, online or web-based learning, and learning mediated by mobile phones, tablets, and other devices. Some benefits of learning supported by technology include flexibility, allowing learning to occur at a distance, at a time and pace appropriate to the needs of students, and ease of updating content. Another is online learning. Online learning means that the educational tool is based on and accessible from the internet. Yes, this can also be heard as cloud-based education solutions. Like, regardless of its name, online learning programs are anytime, anywhere tools, which also means learning from home. Online learning tools are a staple of a blended learning environment. They are most often used in the classroom during class time. And as part of a blended learning environment, students actually use online learning for a portion of class time just before transitioning to class discussion, skills practice, or even lectures or projects. Well, essentially, the major difference between online learning and distance learning, Yes, it's geography. Well, students can be together with an instructor and use online learning, but distance learning implies that the students and their instructor are separated. Now we're to discuss blended learning. And blended learning, sometimes called mixed or hybrid learning, is actually an approach to learning that combines face-to-face and online learning experiences. And blended learning is actually considered the new traditional model or the new normal in course delivery. Can et al. Pointed out the differences between traditional learning and blended learning. One example for feature is location, in which in traditional learning, it's fixed classrooms and not flexible, whereas in blended learning, it's any place and flexible. The second one is method of learning. It's like face-to-face in traditional learning, but in blended learning, it's online and face-to-face. For time learning or for time of learning, it is not flexible at a specific time in traditional learning. However, in blended learning, it must be time flexible and any time. And lastly, the use of technology. While in traditional learning, it's using technology but not mandatory. However, in blended learning, it's using the technology and is necessary and mandatory. Actually, the definition of blended learning has three parts. First, in part through online learning. Second, in part in a supervised brick-and-mortar location. And third, an integrated learning experience. Now we will talk about models of blended learning. And first of which is the rotation model. This is actually defined as a class, course, or subject in which students actually rotate from one learning modality to another, at least one of which being online learning. Examples include station rotation, lab rotation, individual rotation, and flipped classroom. The second is the flex model, and in this model, it refers to courses where online learning is the core of a student's learning experience, where mostly taking place in school and with teachers available to enrich a student's online learning experience as needed on a case-by-case basis. The a la carte model, and this model refers to a course that a student takes online while attending school. It basically enables students to take an online course with an online teacher of record in addition to other face-to-face courses, which often provide students with their more flexibility over their schedule. The fourth is the enriched virtual model. Well, this model requires students to have face-to-face instructional sessions, but students are given the flexibility to complete the rest of the classwork online from a location of their choice, at home or outside of school. Fifth is the face-to-face driver model, and this model works best for diverse classrooms in which students are functioning at various levels of ability and mastery. Sixth is the online lab school model, and this model involves students traveling to and attending a school with total online educational delivery for entire courses. Seventh, self-blend model. In this model, students participate in traditional classes but then enroll in courses to supplement their regular programs of study. And lastly, the online driver model. In this model, students work from remote locations, like say for example in their homes, and actually would receive all of their instruction via online platforms. In the University of Eastern Philippines, the flexible learning mode is a combination or blending of a module-based learning management system or LMS and printed modules. The department chair will release the class list assigned to the faculty. The faculty will now notify or communicate his or her students as to the student's learning mode preference between Moodle and Module. Well, what about the Moodle? Well, this is for students who have the access to the learning management system. And actually, there is a thorough discussion of this in TS4 and TS5, so check them out. And the Module, this is actually for students who cannot access to the learning management system. The UEP has assigned a municipal link stationed in each town in Northern Samar, whose primary role is to distribute and receive the modules and other documents from and to. These are the basic parts of the module: overview, unit lesson number and title, the learning outcomes, the pretest, discussion, summary, assessment, feedback, the suggested readings, and the references. But how the modules are distributed? Step 1. The faculty sends copies of modules to his or her students through the municipal link. Step 2. A student submits sealed documents to the UEP link. Step 3. The UEP link accepts the sealed documents containing the details of the addressee and the sender. In case of admission, the UEP link checks first the submitted requirements, takes note whether complete or lacking, and records the lacking documents, then seal the documents. Step 4. The UEP main link receives the documents and distributes to the respective college. And Step 5.